But they need to come up there, and they need to be ready and prepared to fight. That's what these three are. So they're going to have some good fighting abilities, good survival tactics to be part of that three-man team. But you need to kind of take turns switching them out so then they learn. But those same three are going to be the ones that are going to be making contact with anybody. It's always going to be the same three. But I say the three is going to be rotating and stuff like that. But you're not going to just let other people come in there and start talking to these refugees and all this stuff. And the reason is you're going to get on a personal level with them. And when you do that, it's going to be harder to make decisions. There's this thing about being moral and also being personal. I noticed I saw on one of the comments they were talking about, well, you need to take care of the women and children refugees that come in. No, you don't. Morally, you do have to provide a certain level. If you get on a personal level, then you're going to think you're going to have to really provide a lot. But the morally and the reality, the women and children is not your responsibility. Your responsibility is the people in your area, your local community. Like I say, I'm set up in an area in Oklahoma. We're out in the country. There's about 300 in the area now. During hard times, I'm sure it's going to swell to 1,000. But what I'm saying is those people are my responsibility. The refugees, the people in transit, the people that are just traveling through, they are not my responsibility. I do have a certain moral obligation, but that moral obligation doesn't mean that you can stay here. That moral obligation doesn't mean I have to give you first aid. I have to give you food. I have to give you a secure place to sleep. I know it's difficult for people to believe that. How can you say you are moral and you don't believe, and you do believe you have a limited moral obligation to these others? And that's because that's reality. I told you, our 300 area is going to swell to maybe 1,000. That's reality. Okay, and there will be limits. We're going to have to explain all that to the people that are in the area. And man, when you think, you mean that you will not give food or medical attention to women and children in need? Yeah, you're right. These people, they're refugees. They're in transit. Refugees, they have no place to go. They didn't plan. They could have diseases. They could be, well, we already know there's a degree of weakness in them. so they could sell us out for whatever. I mean, they could be here for a month or two, learn everything about us, and be ready to leave after that. And when they leave, they're going to be putting all of us in jeopardy. My responsibility is my local community. It stops there. I told you, the three-man militia is for my safety, my family's safety, the safety of my friends, and the safety of the local community. Now, if we can't do all this, if we can't hold up the agreement we made with each other, of putting this three-man militia together, in other words, let's say we do all form together, and then we weaken down by allowing these women and children, these poor women and children, who are traveling with whatever, that they have their responsibilities, taking care of those women and children. We don't have that responsibility. Okay. If we were to allow them to come in, and then our group, we lose everything for whatever reason, a disease, they snitch on us, they leave in a month or so, and they tell other people what it is, and we are overwhelmed and we lose everything and stuff like that. We have let down our original agreement as the three-man militia, and that was to take care of each other, including our families. That's why we're doing this, is for our families. My heart opens for these other people, but we all have to deal with the reality. Okay, we're going to look at it on the other side now. Okay, if you're with my group and we are in transit, we're moving from one point to another point, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to be broke down into three-man units. Out of that three-man units, they are responsible for themselves, and we all come together, and that's how we travel. I had someone else mention something about safety in numbers. I'm not a big believer in safety in numbers. There's a certain number, and what that number is, I can't tell you. But you get more than a certain number, you don't have control over your group. In other words, and I made a video talking, we travel as dogs or something like that. And what it is, depending on the circumstances, depending on what's going on, I was looking at it to the Mad Max type of thing, and I'd be traveling with anywhere from 5 to maybe 8, and males, healthy males, armed, and when we are like that, I can find shelter for pretty much up to 8 people. Under most conditions, we can find the shelter. We could find food. Okay, if it was, let's say, 50 of us, I don't know how you're going to house 50. And if this 50, let's keep it the same way as what I was talking about, healthy males that are armed. If I had 50 males that were armed, trying to house them, trying to feed them, this is a daily thing now. trying to keep them morally straight, I couldn't do it. 6 or 8, I could do. 50, I couldn't do it. And I'm sure there's probably some people that can. If we stay on the type of situation that I'm thinking of, I don't know how anybody could. You couldn't have enough money, like the military does. But the military has a complete structure built. Now, even if I had 50 ex-military people and I had lots of money, it's still not going to work. Because the reality is, money isn't the solution to the problems. Money is a tool. So it's not going to work trying to keep 50 healthy armed males in line. It's going to take a military type thing. Other than that, I would look at 50 males as a threat. And this is why I say you don't let anybody see your area, what you have, how well armed you are, the communications, food, medical. You don't want anybody to know any of this stuff. It's nobody's business. That's why you have to be picky on who's coming into your area. If these people think that they're going to, I got my cousin, oh, he means everything to me, and he's got a lot to offer. And then so then now he comes, and then after a few months he leaves. He becomes a potential threat. He's got knowledge about your area. How are you going to handle these types of things? I'm going to have to make a video on that too, I guess. I'll tell you, there are so many problems that people don't think of. And there are very few solutions that work. The majority of the time. Because we're dealing with people, nothing is going to work 100%. One of the things, I had someone made a comment, and they said, you can't eat gold and silver. Okay. The way it came across to me is they were saying that your resources, the money you have, would be better spent in food, arms, and and all this kind of stuff, So, and let me face this part about you can't eat gold and silver. Okay, what it is, first thing, silver is used in healing. I've got blogs on it. You can get on the internet. You can find out all kinds of stuff about how silver heals. So not to have silver and you are a refugee, you are an idiot. You're going to die. You need to have silver in preparing. I've talked about preparing. The number one is skills. And the number two is gold and silver. You notice those all come ahead of weapons. What it is, silver heals. And gold, you can do a lot about gold. I was talking about gold. And like I say, someone mentioned you can't eat gold. I'll tell you what I did, one thing I've learned in life, you have good times and you have not so much good times. And I've gone through some good times. Now, in my good times, seeing I've been self-employed, and I know I have good times and bad times, when I have good times, I don't squander it on TVs, fancy vacations, just all kinds of weird, crazy stuff that I don't really benefit from. So what I did, you could get 1/10 ounce gold coins, and they're about the size of a dime, and you start buying those. And that's what I did. During the good times, I would buy one, I'd buy another one, I'd buy another one. And the funny thing is, I say they're the size of a dime. So you can roll them up like a dime. You ever seen a roll of dimes? There's a little dinky roll of dime like that, little dinky round ones. Okay, and that'll hold 50 dimes, and a dime is approximately 1/10 of an ounce of silver. Okay, so, but you can get it the same physical size, but it's 1/10 of an ounce of gold. And the funny thing is, I've said 1/10 of an ounce of silver, size of an old dime, an old silver dime, is worth a meal. And basically it is about worth a meal. So in other words, if you can't go cut some firewood, if you can't, if you don't have any type of skill that you can offer and trade of food, you can, more than likely, you can get a meal for a silver dime. And or maybe you just don't have time. I mean, I don't know. Different things. No telling why. Okay. Well, when you use that type of logic, that means a 1/10 ounce gold coin would approximately be worth a week of food and shelter. I'll put it this way. If you want to give me a 1/10 of an ounce of gold, I'll give you a week of food and shelter. So, in other words, gold and silver can be used to eat. And I've always said, you never ask for something without giving something in return. And I guess that's probably, well, I've always said that. I'm going to say, maybe I just started saying that after I become a refugee. But no, I've always said that. I say, I've had restaurants, I've had many restaurants, and now something changed in the 90s. But before, probably about the mid-90s, but before that, we had people in transit. They would be moving from one state to another state. This was back in the days when you screwed up your life, you can move to another state and start a whole new life.